And there are other uses for validate rules. Validate rules have a main purpose, of course. That purpose is to protect the integrity of the database by blocking any submission that breaks a business rule. But as you can see, they can be used for other purposes. One such purpose is to introduce mandatory behavior in a search screen. Here we can see that fields in the search screens are ignoring the required rule that may be set up within field level security. This is because we're not actually entering data into the database, but a search screen is only being used to filter and restrict the rows being returned. But obviously, if you've got a very large database table, you want to make sure that there's filtering always takes place, otherwise you're having to filter and find records across the entire set of data. So you may want a particular field in the search screen to be mandatory so that we're always searching of a particular type, or at least putting in some data to restrict the rows. So it's a very useful trick to be able to define a validate rule on a field within a search screen to force a user to enter a value. You can see that I've done this on the company name here within the validate script for this field. If we look at that script, it can be very, very simple. And what we're doing is we're checking to see whether the passed in value for the company name is actually defined. So we're using this check, Boolean check, and then if it's not present, then we're setting valid to be false, and the error string is that we must provide a value in this field. We can, of course, become more complex, and this happens to be a validation rule that can detect when a field is changed. And so you might actually detect a field that has changed and therefore write a row into an external log file. Now this example only needs to log which fields have changed, not every field in the screen. So we first of all need to know what fields are in the screen and then examine each field in turn. Now to do that, what I've done is I've used the screen object, that's the entry group block, and that happens to be an enumerable object. And if we look through what we're doing in the script, is that we can see that this particular script is opening up a scripting object within the file system. It's starting to get that file in order to write into it. We're able to then check our block, which is the company box long. We're treating that as an enumerator. We're rolling through each of the fields within the screen, and you'll see there's the check between the get context info, which gets hold of the old existing value, and then the values, which contains the passed in value. So if the old value does not equal the new value, then we know a change has occurred, and so that's the test that we see here to allow the logging to take place. But I think that's enough about validate scripts.